I was a child. That should have been enough to stop everything. The trauma I went through wasn't my fault, not one moment of it, not the night I learned how to disappear, not the way my body stayed awake even when my eyes were closed. But sometimes it's easier to blame myself than to ask the question that still rattles in my chest: why? Why me? Why then? Why no one stepped in? I want answers I already know I'll never get. Closure feels like a privilege reserved for the believed, for the children who cried politely, for the ones whose pain looked acceptable. Sometimes I want to message them, not to forgive, not to heal, but to ask one simple question. Why did you do that to a child? Your child. But their ego would answer first, rewrite history, paint themselves innocent, perfect, misunderstood, anything but accountable. I want to ask the police, why did my cries were treated like background noise? Why fear didn't count as evidence? Why a shaken voice wasn't enough? Why justice seemed hard of hearing when a child begged without the right words? I want to ask my teachers why anger in a child was only ever called bad behaviour. Why pain had to be quiet to be worthy of concern. Why my rage, the only language my body had left, earned punishment instead of protection. Why no one asked what a child had to endure to become that angry. I want to ask social services why they didn't see through the fakeness. Why charms outweighed truth. Why clean clothes mattered more than the terror living underneath them. Why they believed the performance instead of the pain. I want to ask every adult in the room why responsibility was passed around until it burned the smallest hands. I learned early how to wear blame like a second skin. Because if it was my fault, then maybe I had control. Maybe I could survive it by shrinking, by swallowing, by staying silent. But I was a child, and children do not consent to destruction. I carry questions that never got answers, memories that never got justice, and the younger version of myself who deserved safety instead of survival skills. Still I'm here, still I'm breathing, still telling the truth. They try to bury with egos, with paperwork and closed eyes, and maybe that's what scares them most. That the child they ignored grew into a voice that refuses to disappear.